When most people think of 2025, they'll likely remember Katy Perry's controversial ascent into space, the final season of Stranger Things that seemed to take over daily life, and the sudden feeling that AI had leapt forward overnight. But historians will remember 2025 for something else entirely. Because while the world was arguing about food prices and Avatar 3, archaeologists were uncovering evidence that suggested things were not quite as they seemed. It started in January 2025 with a group of archaeologists carrying out what they assumed would be a standard dig in Egypt. What followed caught the world completely off guard. Egypt, January 2025. The site was Abydos, one of Egypt's oldest and most sacred ancient cities, used as a royal burial ground for thousands of years. Archaeologists expected to find another tomb from the Second Intermediate Period, a time when Egypt was politically fragmented and historical records were incomplete. Instead, they uncovered a large royal tomb dating back more than 3,600 years. The architecture, layout, and scale were unmistakable. This was the burial of a pharaoh, except there was no name. The inscriptions that would normally identify the ruler were damaged or missing entirely, and no surviving king list could be confidently matched to the tomb. Based on its date and location, historians believe it likely belonged to a short-reigning or regional ruler from a rival dynasty that later lost power. During this chaotic period, later Egyptian rulers frequently rewrote history to legitimize themselves, excluding defeated rivals from official records. Some kings were forgotten, others were deliberately erased. To this day, historians still do not know who this pharaoh was, or whether it will ever be possible to identify them. And as unsettling as that discovery was, it would turn out to be only the beginning of Egypt's surprises in 2025. Egypt, February 2025. Just weeks later, Egypt produced another shock, this time involving a ruler whose name was never in doubt. Researchers announced the identification of the long-missing tomb of Pharaoh Thutmose II, a king of the powerful 18th dynasty and husband to Hatshepsut. His reign was well documented, yet his tomb had never been conclusively located. When archaeologists finally identified it, they discovered clear evidence that it had been deliberately emptied and flooded in antiquity. This was not natural decay or casual looting. It showed intentional interference. Historians believe this may have been linked to later political or religious shifts, possibly even attempts to reshape royal memory. It was a reminder that even famous pharaohs were not immune to historical manipulation after death. By early 2025, Egypt had revealed two royal tombs, one belonging to a ruler erased from history, and another showing deliberate disruption of a known king's burial. What historians did not expect was that the next discovery would not come from the ground at all. Cambridge, March 2025. In March, scholars at Cambridge University Library announced the discovery of a medieval manuscript fragment containing rare versions of stories about Merlin and King Arthur. The surprise was not the content, but where it had been hiding. For centuries, the manuscript had been reused as binding material for a later book. In the medieval world, parchment was expensive, and old texts were often cut up and recycled without concern for what was written on them. Using advanced imaging techniques, researchers revealed texts historians believed had been lost entirely. The discovery raised an uncomfortable question. If culturally important stories could vanish simply because they were reused, how much else might have disappeared the same way? And just as historians were grappling with that idea, science complicated the picture even further. Egypt, July 2025. In July, scientists published the first complete genome of an ancient Egyptian individual. DNA preservation in Egypt is extremely rare, making the achievement significant in itself. The results challenged long-held assumptions. While the individual's ancestry was largely North African, a substantial portion of his DNA was linked to populations from the Fertile Crescent and Mesopotamia. This was direct biological evidence that people themselves were moving between regions thousands of years ago. Historians had long debated whether early civilizations developed largely in isolation, connected only through trade. This discovery showed that human movement was far more extensive than previously proven. And if ancient societies were more connected than expected, the next discovery suggested they may also have been more organized. Turkey, November 2025. Late in the year, archaeologists in southeastern Turkey announced findings from a site long studied, but newly reinterpreted using updated analysis. Historians had believed early communities in the region developed slowly, beginning as loosely organized settlements before gradually becoming more complex. The new evidence showed signs of coordinated planning and shared design appearing far earlier than expected. This was not accidental growth, it was deliberate organization. The discovery suggested that complex social structures may have emerged earlier and more rapidly than traditional timelines allow. And Turkey was not the only place where early organization appeared sooner than expected. China, February 2025. In February 2025, archaeologists in eastern China announced that newly excavated sections of the ancient Qi Great Wall were far older than previously believed. For decades, historians thought these walls dated mainly to the Warring States period, around the 4th to 3rd centuries BCE. The new evidence pushed parts of the structure back by at least 300 years, placing their construction much earlier, during a time when China was believed to be far less politically organized. This mattered because building walls on this scale requires planning, coordination, labor control, and long-term strategy. In other words, it requires a level of state organization historians did not think existed that early in the region. The discovery forced historians to rethink when large-scale defensive planning actually began in ancient China, and whether early states were more sophisticated than the historical record suggests. And once again, the same unsettling pattern emerged. Across completely different parts of the world, complex organization kept appearing earlier than it was supposed to. Belize, July 2025. In July, archaeologists working at the Maya city of Karakol announced the discovery of a royal tomb containing elaborate burial goods, including a jade mask. The ruler was identified as Tekabchak, the city's first known king. What made the discovery remarkable was not that the ruler was unknown, but that historians had previously underestimated how early complex Maya kingship developed. This find pushed back the timeline for Maya political organization and showed that powerful rulers were establishing dynasties earlier than previously thought. And the pattern of early complexity continued. Poland, November 2025. In Poland, archaeologists recovered medieval spears from Lake Lednica, a site associated with early state formation. For years, historians debated whether these weapons were lost in battle or deliberately placed. The 2025 analysis showed signs of intentional deposition, suggesting ritual offerings rather than combat losses. This forced historians to consider how belief systems shaped the archaeological record, and how many objects were placed deliberately, not accidentally. And not all missing history was ancient. Pacific Ocean, July to August 2025. In the Pacific, newly identified World War II shipwrecks were confirmed during 2025 expeditions, including vessels lost during key naval battles. These ships had disappeared within living memory, yet remained unlocated for decades. The discovery showed how easily even modern history can vanish, waiting silently to be rediscovered. And finally, the year ended with a reminder that even the most studied places are not finished. Atlantis near Pompeii, December 2025. In December, archaeologists revealed newly excavated rooms and vivid frescoes at Villa Poppaea in Atlantis near Pompeii. Despite centuries of study in the region, new spaces continued to emerge. Pompeii and its surrounding sites are often treated as complete snapshots of the ancient world. Yet they continue to reveal new details. Which leaves one final question. If so much of the past resurfaced in a single year, how much more is still waiting to be found? Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and if you're looking for more history that will blow your mind, why not subscribe and check out everything from Anglo-Saxons to ancient Japan?